For a few years in the mid-20s, the most valuable thing happening in technology was artificial intelligence, and a remarkable share of the money flowing through it passed through one company. Not the biggest names building the chatbots, not the cloud giants running them, but a company that mostly sold the hardware underneath. Its profits were so large, they looked like a typo. And its secret was not simply that it built a powerful chip, it was that it turned that chip into an entire money-making platform and made the rest of the industry build on top of it. This is how NVIDIA turns AI into a profit machine.
First, the size of the story, because the numbers matter, and they are hard to believe. NVIDIA's fiscal year 2025, the year that ended in January 2025, produced revenue of $130.5 billion, more than double the year before. The overwhelming majority, $115 billion, came from its data center business, the chips and networking that power AI. Its gross margin, the share of every dollar left after the cost of making the hardware, was around 75%. That is a margin you usually associate with software or a luxury brand, not with physical computer parts. And it kept accelerating.
In fiscal 2026, which ended in January 2026, revenue rose to $215.9 billion, up 65%, with the data center business alone at $193.7 billion, up 92%. In the first quarter of fiscal 2027, reporting in May 2026, revenue hit a record $81.6 billion, with data center revenue up 92%. These are the company's own reported figures, and they describe a hardware company growing with the ferocity of the most successful software platform ever built.
So why does the money flow to NVIDIA? Start with what AI actually needs. Building a modern AI model, training it, means running enormous calculations across tens of thousands of chips for weeks at a time. Running that model for millions of users afterward, called inference, needs the same kind of computing power at scale. GPUs, graphics processors, turned out to be extraordinarily good at both, because their parallel design is ideal for the matrix math at the core of AI. So the AI boom became a boom in demand for accelerators, the chips that do AI computing, and NVIDIA had spent decades building a lead in exactly that category.
It became the default supplier. Industry estimates, which vary by methodology, put NVIDIA's share of the AI accelerator market at somewhere around 80 to 90% in 2025, down from even higher levels a couple of years earlier as rivals arrived, but still an extraordinary concentration for a single company in a huge, fast-growing market. That concentration is where the profit comes from. When you hold that position, you have pricing power, the ability to set prices that other suppliers cannot, because your product is the one everyone needs, and the alternative is years away.
But here is what most people miss. The chip is only half the moat. The other half is the software. Since the mid-2000s, NVIDIA has been building a software platform called CUDA, which lets developers program its chips in a fast and familiar way. Over nearly 2 decades, essentially the entire AI field has been built on top of it. When an AI researcher writes code in PyTorch, one of the most widely used frameworks in the world, and hits run, that code runs on CUDA, on an NVIDIA chip. Every major machine learning framework, every big model, every lab and cloud reached maturity inside this ecosystem.
This is a form of lock-in that runs deeper than a plug. The GPU is the hardware. CUDA is the moat. Developers learned one way of doing things, and that way routes money to NVIDIA.
Even if a competitor's chip is faster or cheaper in isolation, switching means rewriting years of optimized software and retraining your team. The switching cost is enormous, and the switching cost is the pricing power.
There is one more layer that makes NVIDIA's economics unusually good. It does not just sell chips, it sells the entire computing machine. Because AI systems need to communicate across many chips, NVIDIA also became the leading supplier of the networking hardware that connects them, NVLink and InfiniBand, technologies that let thousands of GPUs work as one. Its newest systems, like the Blackwell family, are sold as complete racks, even complete supercomputers, designed to plug straight into a data center.
That raises the value of every sale, since the customer buys a system rather than a single chip, and it binds the customer even more tightly to NVIDIA's design. You are not buying one component among many. You are buying the architecture that the whole system is built on, and NVIDIA controls every layer of it. It has effectively turned the boom in AI into a boom for one integrated platform. The buyers are some of the largest capital spenders on Earth. The big cloud and internet companies, the hyperscalers, have been spending enormously on AI infrastructure, in the tens of billions per company per year. NVIDIA has said its large cloud service customers are its biggest buyers, accounting for just under half of data center revenue in a recent quarter. Then come the AI startups, sovereign nations building their own compute, and enterprises.
Why are these sophisticated buyers willing to spend so much on NVIDIA rather than build cheaper alternatives? Because for now, the alternative paths are slower. And in AI, being fast matters more than being cheap. If the chip is the bottleneck, the company that gets the chips first gets the product first. That urgency is exactly what a supplier with pricing power wants. NVIDIA sells a scarce, hugely demanded input to buyers who cannot wait. That is the definition of a money machine.
It would be naive to treat this as a permanent monopoly, and NVIDIA's own margin data shows the pressure. Rivals like AMD have shipped competing accelerators with real improvements, and the largest cloud giants are designing custom silicon of their own. Google's TPUs, Amazon's Trainium, custom chips at Microsoft, and others. Industry analysts who track this market say NVIDIA's position is strong, but not permanent, and margins have slowly tightened from their peak.
Yet for now, the durable advantages hold. A decade and a half of software investment, a networking franchise, and a scale in advanced chip-making that is extremely hard to replicate quickly. Every rival's answer has arrived on NVIDIA's timeline, not their own. And in a market growing this fast, the incumbent with the ecosystem holds the overwhelming advantage. So what is the real lesson? During the AI boom, enormous economic value is being created by AI companies and the cloud platforms that host them. But a remarkable and growing slice of that value is captured not by the companies that make the models, but by the company that supplies the machines that run them. NVIDIA monetizes the AI boom the way a toll road monetizes traffic, not by competing with the drivers, but by owning the road everyone has to use. It charges not once, but every time the industry reinvests. And the industry is reinvesting at a scale
Whether
never
the next
seen
10
before.
years belong to NVIDIA or to a rival, the mechanism is the lesson. The most durable profit in a technological revolution often sits not in the final product, but in the infrastructure layer that every product is built on. And the company that builds that infrastructure, wraps it in software, and locks the whole industry into its design is the one that gets to charge the toll. That is how a chip company becomes a profit machine for the artificial intelligence age, not by making the intelligence, but by selling the machine it runs on.